Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Space Jam New Legacy Lola Bunny and Wetfire Bravos Court 2-pack. Now this is one of the last 2-packs I had to review for Space Jam New Legacy, but first off, let's take a look at the packaging. So here's the box for this set, and something I find interesting is that this is a pretty well maintained box. That mainly has to do because I did not find this pack at the same discount stores I mentioned all the other figures. I had to get this pack out of Facebook Marketplace, but here's the thing. It was actually the last thing I bought in 2022. I got it just that December 31st, 2022, so yeah, it was definitely my last purchase. And zooming again to the 2-packs, I'll review all of these here. The only one I still haven't reviewed is the LeBron James and White Mamba. And from the single packs, I don't have those two individual LeBron James figures just because they're way too similar to the others. I already have two, so I don't really need those other two. And the Bugs Bunny one I already reviewed, and another upcoming one is Marvin the Martian. But that's it for the box. Let's take a look at the figures. First character we're going to take a look at is the Goon Squad member of this pack, Wetfire. Yeah, pretty incoherent name there, Wetfire. And this character is based off of the same thing with the other Goon Squad players. This character is based off a real NBA player, this time Klay Thompson. And I think that the face sculpt looks decent for what we saw in the movie. And I kind of like the kind of detailing they have on the sculpt for the arms and the legs. So they kind of look like veins, but they're meant to be water flowing in him because, you know, he's made out of water, and at the same time he can basically turn into fire at the same time. And I honestly wish Moose Toys had done a burning Wetfire. But overall, the figure is decent for what it is. As I mentioned with Kronos and the Brow, I'm pretty sure people don't really care about this figure too much. And since, again, he's not going to be that important, I'm just going to do the whole accessory and the articulation at the same time. So his only accessory is this burning basketball, and I actually think this is a really cool accessory, and it's compatible with all the other figures, but I don't think any of the other characters could hold a burning ball. Again, he has a peg here on his hand, only on this hand, and you just simply attach it like so, and overall, I think this is a interesting accessory, but one that I honestly don't use with all my other figures. There, you can see that because of the translucent color, it could be easy to lose the peg, as it's happening with me. There we go. There's Wetfire when his burning basketball. I think he looks cool with it. I actually do like how cool that burning basketball looks, but it's not an accessory used in all the other figures. And again, to make things quicker, let's take a look at his articulation. Same thing with Kronos. He can look up and down, side to side. Has these kind of ball joints in his arms. He has this elbow joint. And sadly, no knee joints. He can only kick like this. Like, yeah, this is actually the exact same articulation that the Tomy Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic Boom figures had. So, as I mentioned back then on those videos, I couldn't showcase that articulation, but here I can. And overall, I wish he was more articulated, but there's not really much else I can say about Wetfire, except that he looks like the character in the movie. But I do wish someone made it like a burning Wetfire figure. But that's it for the Goon Squad member. Now let's take a look at the reason why you're probably watching this video. That being for Lola Bunny. Now, this is the only, one of the only Space Jam New Legacy action figures for Lola Bunny. And I think she looks fantastic now. Sadly, she's not very articulated, but in terms of her look, of course, based on the redesigned Lola Bunny, and I know that's going to turn a lot of people off. A lot of people don't like her redesign, but I honestly think, to me, they barely did any changes to her. Like, the only changes I see is that she's wearing a full-on jersey instead of a crop top and longer shorts. That's, to me, the only differences. But from that, she's the same. I really like how different this Lola Bunny actually is in terms of the other figures, because again, not that many articulated Lola Bunny figures exist. I think the paint has been really well applied. Again, she barely has any articulation, but I like how they kept her main details. Like, here's the profile. Again, I don't really see that many changes to her original 1996 Space Jam look. Again, I like how the ponytail is basically her ears tied up. You can see the rubber band and a bit of a painting in there for her ears. That is really nice. And also here at the back for her tail. And I really like how this Lola Bunny looks. In this case, I will do the whole articulation / accessories, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people will care more about this Lola Bunny. Now, articulation will be super easy to showcase because she only has 3 points. She has waist rotation, as I mentioned, but sadly cuts, again, that Toon Squad design. And she can move her arms. That's kind of it. Yeah, unlike Bugs Bunny, she doesn't have a head articulation. And I'm kind of confused on why. Like, Bugs Bunny has it. And the only other Moose Toys, Lola Bunny, also has it, so I'm not sure why this one doesn't. Maybe you had to press harder, but I don't want to break her, so I can't really showcase her head articulation. Maybe she just doesn't have it, maybe because of her ears, I don't know. But that's kind of it. No leg articulation, no elbow articulation, and I really wish she had all of that. But that's kind of it for the articulation. Let's take a look at her accessories. Her only accessories are the so-called Acme spring shoes, or whatever they're called. They're a solid piece of orange plastic. These also, just like the Acme Blaster, they were never in the movie. But I do think they're an interesting add-on to this figure. Now, they're not made out of real spring, as you can see on under Lola Bunny's feet. She has sort of these pegs, which she attaches like so to the spring shoes. Now, many of the other new Space Jam New Legacy figures also have these, so if you want to have like the Tasmanian Devil, Bugs Bunny, and even LeBron James, you can attach these to any of those. And she looks cool with these. And bringing in Wetfire, as you can see, I guess it's meant to make her slightly taller. And I like how she looks. I think it would have been cool if the Looney Tunes actually pulled out these Acme accessories in the basketball game, but they never did. So, again, to me, kind of pointless accessories, but I guess there wasn't really anything else they could have given a Lola Bunny. But that's it for the figures. Let's take a look at some size comparisons. First off, here we have Wetfire next to all of the Goon Squad members Moose Toys did. Interestingly, how they only made 4. Again, I think it would have been cool if they made like a Burning Wetfire, or maybe the other like super digital Goon Squad member who was she called? Arachnia, something like that. Arachnica. She was a spider, and I actually do like how much variety there is in terms of these villains. How one is like a Birdman, the other is literally made out of water who can turn to fire, a robot, and a snake woman. Again, I like how much variety there is with these characters. Of course, they're not as iconic as the first Space Jam's Monstars, but I like the variety here, okay? I kind of like how different they are and how they were kind of a bit of a threat, because unlike the Monstars, they were not 2D animated, so they couldn't really be squashed or defeated using cartoony methods. These guys were actually pretty formidable villains, I'm not gonna lie. But that's kind of it for the Goon Squad. The only one left to review is White Mamba, but let's take a look at the good guys, the Toon Squad. And here are all the members of the Toon Squad: Bugs Bunny, Lola Bunny, the Tasmanian Devil, and look, the most repeated character in this line, LeBron James. I really wish they made more Toon Squad members. Like, this is something I'll stop saying now, because I've really looked at all the ones they made, I guess. Since there are only 4 Toon Squad members, that's why they only made 4 Goon Squad members. I would like at least one other character, like maybe make, I don't know, from the first scene where they start the game. I believe that the other character who were Sylvester and Tweety. They could have done those. And something else I'll mention is that, to me, it's kind of weird the way that they packaged the characters next to each other. Like Tasmanian Devil and the Brow, to me, is a cool 2-pack because we do see those characters go head to head in the film. And to me, the right way to have done it is maybe to have, instead of package Lola Bunny with Wetfire, package her with White Mamba, because that is the rivalry we saw in the movie, you know, how Lola Bunny called White Mamba a worm. And I do think that it would have been a lot cooler if instead of packaging Lola Bunny with Wetfire, they would package Wetfire with someone like Gossamer, or maybe even Yosemite Sam, like a character who had more of a direct interaction with Wetfire. So again, Gossamer, since he absorbed Wetfire like a sponge, I think it would have been cool if they made a Gossamer figure. Because Gossamer was another one of the characters who played the most, and he would have been a substantial enough figure. Maybe that's also why they didn't do him. And that's kind of it for what I can say here. They look great together as a team, but again, I just wish they would have done more Toon Squad members. But now let's take a look at some other comparisons for Lola Bunny. Like Lola Bunny with Bugs Bunny. Now, yeah, it's a Space Jam comparison again, but I just had to do this comparison. They look super cool next to each other. Now, I think that the redesign, for the most part, to me, what I like that redesign is that she looks a lot more consistent next to Bugs Bunny. Like, one thing that bothers me about the original Space Jam, that due to the more sexualized look of the original Lola Bunny, she looked super incoherent, in my opinion, next to all the other tunes. Like, all of the other characters had cartoony looks. They all looked, of course, they're meant to be cartoony, they're Looney Tunes, but then Lola Bunny comes in with a much more humanoid figure, and that's kind of why I prefer this redesign. Like, looking at her next to Bugs Bunny, yeah, you can definitely notice that they're meant to be the same species. They're both cartoon rabbits. And I really like how they still were able to keep most of Lola Bunny's female shape, but at the same time not overdo it. But that's kind of it for Bugs Bunny and Lola Bunny, and now let's take a look at some non-Space Jam comparisons. Bringing in Wetfire here again, I actually forgot to do the size comparisons with Wetfire, so I'm sorry I had to retake the whole scenes again, because I kind of forgot about Wetfire. So here he is. Here's Lola Bunny again, compared to the Jack Pacific, 4-inch Sonic the Hedgehog, and Amy Rose. And I think the scale works good enough here. I thought it'd be cool to have here Lola Bunny, Bugs Bunny's girlfriend, next to Amy, Sonic's girlfriend. And I think they look cool next to each other. I actually do kind of like the scale. Of course, Amy was made a bit too tall. But I think that next to Sonic, Lola Bunny, they would be around that scale. Again, I forgot to bring out Wetfire, so all the next comparisons will have him. But that's it for these specific Sonic comparisons. Here are Lola Bunny Wetfire next to Classic Sonic, who is still the most viewed video on the channel. I just want to thank everyone who's seen that video, more than 500 views. Thank you all so much, but I just wanted to do this kind of scale. Again, expect Classic Sonic for all the upcoming size comparisons. Here they are next to the Marvel Legends Star-Lord and She-Hulk, and taking out Wetfire here for a moment. Here, I think that Lola Bunny scales pretty well with them. And as I mentioned some other occasions when I discussed the LeBron James figure, man, I wish the LeBron figure was made taller. Like, to me, 6 inches tall would have been the perfect scaling for LeBron in comparison to the Toons, because of course LeBron James is a very tall person. So I do think this scale works even better than the humanoid Space Jam characters next to the Toons. And again, bringing in Wetfire again, yeah, he's pretty short in comparison to these. He should be around 6.5, maybe, around that kind of tall, but nope, he's pretty short. I believe he's around 5 inches tall, and yeah, pretty out of scale here. But maybe there's a real Klay Thompson figure out there, like maybe an NBA figure. I'll have to research that, but here they are next to some Marvel Legends. Again, really good scaling here for Lola Bunny. And I just wanted to do this comparison to discuss this. Here they are next to Socks the Cat from Lightyear, and again, removing Wetfire here for a moment. I just want to showcase these because these are some of the biggest flops of recent years in animation. Of course, Space Jam New Legacy is considered a massive flop. Lightyear is considered a bigger flop, and I kind of feel bad for these. I really enjoyed Space Jam: New Legacy, and even though I don't think Lightyear's the best Pixar movie, I still don't think it deserves all the hate it received back then. And even though Pixar is still kind of strong now with Elemental, I just want to do this comparison. I just think they look really nice next to each other, and that's kind of it for Socks. But here's a comparison without Wetfire. Here we have Lola Bunny next to the Transformers Rise of the Beasts Core Class RC. And I also wanted to do this comparison because, again, similar to Amy, another important female character in a mostly male character cast, I really like how they look next to each other. Of course, super out of scale. I guess if we wanted size-accurate Transformers, maybe RC should be about more than 7 inches taller, and She-Hulk size, I guess, would be the perfect size for RC. But I think they look cool next to each other. Again, two very important female characters in these franchises' history. And finally, bringing back Wetfire here for a moment. Here they are next to Optimus Prime. I just wanted to do this comparison for those who have this Optimus Prime. Yeah, pretty at scale. But that's kind of it for Transformers. And finally, the only other Moose Toys Lola Bunny. Here they are next to Wonder Woman Lola Bunny. And again, we're removing Wetfire here for a moment because I want to focus on both of them. They look really different, actually. Not just because one is in the Toon Squad uniform and the other has a Wonder Woman costume on. Even in the paint job, like the shading, the shade of the colors is different. The Wonder Woman Lola Bunny's eyes are slightly smaller. And again, as I mentioned on the articulation for this main Lola Bunny, the Wonder Woman Lola Bunny actually does have head articulation. Again, I'm not sure if maybe I accidentally broke her neck and that's why she can rotate her head, or maybe this is something that they forgot to add with the first Lola Bunny, that's why it's on the Wonder Woman Lola Bunny. But she's one of my favorites in my collection. I really like how both of them look. Very different in terms of the aspect, but in terms of some parts of the skull, like even though the head is very different, the arms are kind of similar, except for the whole Wonder Woman gauntlets. But I overall think they're both falling. They look really cool next to each other. And I really wish this Wonder Woman costume would have been in Space Jam: New Legacy. And sure, Lola Bunny was with the Amazonians and Themyscira, but never in a Wonder Woman costume. It would have been really cool if she did a Wonder Woman costume. But that's kind of it for these comparisons, and that's kind of it for these two. They look really cool next to each other, and I also expect that Wonder Woman Lola Bunny video. So, overall, the Moose Toys Space Jam: New Legacy Lola Bunny and Wetfire 2-pack might have been the best seller, especially because, again, I did not find it ever on the discount store, got all the others. It's Lola Bunny, maybe, and just like as I mentioned with the whole controversial redesign, maybe people actually bought this one maybe because they wanted the redesign. Personally, I got it just because I wanted to complete the Space Jam collection, and because I wanted Lola Bunny in my collection. Overall, they look great. The figures themselves, I do think that in terms of the sculpting, they look great. But in terms of the articulation, they're kind of limited. Like, I don't get why the Goon Squad members don't have knee articulation, while LeBron James does. And Lola Bunny is kind of static. Again, you can only move the arms and the waist. I wish she had leg articulation. I kind of forgot to mention that, but the Lola Bunny Wonder Woman has leg articulation. Not sure why this one can't. And for some reason, the head can't move. Again, maybe you have to pry it. Maybe you have to grab it harder, but I'm not going to do that. And I do like this pack. I actually ended up paying like $12 for it, so it was the most expensive Space Jam: New Legacy thing I bought. And overall, I like this 2-pack. Now, of course, the main part that shines here is Lola Bunny. And overall, I like this 2-pack. But I get that not everyone will like it. Again, the Wetfire and the Goon Squad members are kind of forgotten at this point, so a lot of people probably don't care for those. I'm pretty sure most people who bought this 2-pack only got it for Lola Bunny. But that's kind of it for this video. I want to thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this 2-pack. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.